Live from the Fox 7 Austin newsroom. You can join us right here on the Fox local app as well as YouTube. Just go to our page, Fox 7 Austin, hit the live tab, and you can watch right there. You can also rewatch episodes as well. It has been quite the 48 hours here in the newsroom and certainly around the downtown Austin area. We are once again going to continue our coverage of this mass shooting that occurred Sunday morning, 1:50 a.m. at Buford's Beer Garden out there on West 6th Street, or a horrific tragedy here in this community. We have heard from so many witnesses. We have heard from people that saw this. We've talked with people. We have talked with people that were actually seeing all of this happen. So a lot of images coming in, a lot of video coming in. We've tried to break it all down for you as best we can. Last night, sort of giving you the nuts and bolts of what had happened. 14 people injured. We knew that 3 people died, including the shooter. Today, getting some more information on the identities of those victims. We'll have that coming up in just about 30 seconds here. I want to take you into the press conference that we got earlier today with Police Chief Lisa Davis as well as Mayor Kirk Watson. In that press conference, she gives us the identity of those victims. Young kids is really what you could call them, unfortunately. And we were also told at the end of that press conference that one of the other victims was expected to be taken off life support, which would move that death toll up to 4 total, including the gunman. So I do want to take you guys now to that press conference. It is a little long, so we'll try to get through it as best we can, and we'll break that down from there and get the reaction. But you'll hear an opening statement here from Mayor Kirk Watson. Once again, very complimentary of the Austin Police Department and their quick responses. I mentioned yesterday, Police Chief Lisa Davis told us they responded in less than a minute, 55 to 56 seconds here. So you'll hear that once again from Mayor Kirk Watson, and then you'll hear more details from Police Chief Lisa Davis. We'll listen in. We had sound.
Fire and EMS, our public safety professionals did a tremendous job, a job where they were moving quickly and bravely to make sure that lots of heroism on Sunday morning. I also want to say a special thank you to the victim services of the Austin Police Department for the role that they're playing. They are doing their typical outstanding job. I thank our federal partners on behalf of the City of Austin, all of them. I want to reiterate our appreciation of their professional work. And of course, this investigation is still ongoing, but we deeply appreciate their being involved. I know that the people of Austin, Texas continue to hold the victims of this horrible tragedy in their thoughts and prayers. And then that leads me to also wanting to say a special thanks to the healthcare workers that have played such an important and prominent role in addressing the needs of Austinites after this tragedy. I'll have a few more things to say, but I want to bring up our Chief of Police, who, again, I deeply appreciate the work that she has done and the way she has handled this matter. And so, Chief Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. The last 34 hours have been some of the most challenging in my career. This has been difficult for our community, devastating to the impacted families, and challenging to our APD family. I want to thank our federal partners, Special Agent in Charge, and the evidence response team with the FBI. APD could not do this alone. We are still in the early hours of this investigation. This is a complicated and large crime scene. Our priority is finding answers and the motives behind this crime. I want to thank everyone that has supported our communities and this response. Families will need this in the days ahead. I also want to thank victim services that have come in addition to APD's victim services. That includes FBI, the Travis County District Attorney, and multiple calls of people wanting to help. I cannot imagine.
Once again, if you're just joining us, this is a press conference from earlier today regarding the mass shooting here in Austin, Texas. This is Police Chief Lisa Davis.
Sean, and Ryder Harrington. To the impacted families that are still waiting for answers, we are here for you. A family resource center is being stood up, as we know numerous people have been affected by this, and we're daily, hourly, getting calls of people that have been victimized by this. The department will be releasing information soon on what that looks like. When I arrived on this scene, again, it was complex and very large. The work being done by the Austin Fire Department, the Travis County Emergency Medical Service, and APD was quite impressive. Once the initial scene was secured, we reached out to our federal partners to assist in this resource-intensive scene and to address concerns of potential terrorism. We are working in tandem with the FBI, conducting numerous interviews and gathering evidence. If you can imagine, we have over 150 witnesses to this event that we are working with the FBI. And we are also investigating an officer-involved shooting. As I have committed in the past, in any officer-involved shooting, we will be releasing info as quickly as possible. Later this week, potentially Thursday, we'll be releasing body-worn camera of this event, as well as information on the suspect, including criminal history. Again, we are making, and I want you to know that we are making tremendous, significant progress in this case, but it will take time. In closing, I want to take a minute, as the mayor, echo the mayor, and talk about just the fantastic work that the Austin Police Department with the Travis County Emergency Medical Services.
I want to pause it right there as Lisa Davis continues talking about this. Once again, obviously very complimentary of the response by the Austin Police Department. Something very interesting that she mentions there is that they anticipate to release that body cam footage soon, which I assume will give us a much better vantage point. We do have some video of the shooting taking place. It's kind of far away. We looked at this yesterday. You can hear the gunshots ring out. You see the suspected gunman sort of coming around a corner. He's got that AR-style rifle, and then you hear gunshots to the right of what we see on the camera there. You can't even see Austin Police in the frame there, but you hear the gunshots. You see him fall to the ground quite quickly behind a car, and then there's another video we have, which we'll look at after we get done with this as well, and we'll show you what appears to be just moments after they take him down. And we've also seen some images today, which I'm sure some of you have seen on social media, following the shooting with the suspect dead on the ground with a very, very close-up shot of what's under his hoodie that said property of a law. I'm not going to show that image, but some of you out there have certainly seen it. You can go to Bill Malusian's page on Fox News and look at that, and you can also, I'm sure, find it on many other pages as well that are circling that. But we'll continue with the press conference here, but just interesting, and hopefully we get that body cam footage soon, but we'll let Lisa Davis continue here.
Did here. Multiple lives were saved. You know, in Texas, we are fortunate to have the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training Center, and that's the Alert Center through Texas State University. And that training, there is no doubt that in that coordinated response with EMS saved lives this night. Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
We'll skip through this here. I want to get to the
And
point
fire
where
and EMS.
Lisa Davis starts answering some questions.
Do we know how the suspect acquired these guns and whether they were acquired legally?
So she's being asked, do
The
they know
guns
how
were
the
required
suspect
legally.
fired
I
the
believe in
gun?
2017 out of San Antonio they were.
Or how he got the
purchased.
gun, excuse me. So 2017, they believe he legally purchased these weapons.
Sean and Ryder Harrison.
Ryder Harrington, yes.
Okay. Can you tell us more? Are they UT students? I think Ryder is a Texas Tech student.
I don't know as far as what school they went to. That is certainly something that we can look into. But they were young. I believe Ryder was maybe 22 and Savitha 24 or 20 respectively.
Yeah, so this was complicated earlier as well, and I saw this, and I don't want to blame Lisa Davis for this, but there was a correction we had to make. Go to my Twitter here, and I do want to point out we did learn the names of the victims here, which she says, and I'll just skip ahead to
Sean. I believe she's 24. Savitha.
So Savitha Sean, who she says right there is 24. We learned that's
and
not
Ryder,
the case.
R-Y-D-E-R.
And then Ryder Harrington.
Harrington,
So we're looking at two students here, okay, at this bar, Buford's Beer Garden. So I just want to point out the correction here. It's not a huge deal, obviously. But initially, we had reported that Austin police had identified the two killed in that shooting as 24-year-old Savitha Sean and 22-year-old Ryder Harrington. You can hear Police Chief Lisa Davis even saying there she wasn't sure of his exact age. They then went on to correct that and saying that Savitha was 21 years old and Ryder Harrington was 19. So I just want to make sure those two things are clear there. I also want to remind you, we mentioned, and Meredith, our Crime Watch reporter, Meredith Aldis, talked about this yesterday. One of the witnesses she talked to, and you can watch it in her story from last night if you go to fox7austin.com, a person she's talking to, a witness, gathers horrific images. We had to blur a lot of it out because you see victims on the ground, you see others administering CPR. Horrific, just horrifying to watch. And then that person, that witness, Kelson, telling Meredith, hey, this other person I was with, I'm not quite sure, if they're safe. I'm hoping their phone just died and maybe they're just tired and they've slept through this, and hopefully I'll hear from them later. We then come to find out that that person is in critical condition. And then Lisa Davis goes on to say here in this press conference that they are going to take another person off life support. So we expect, unfortunately, this death toll to rise from 2 victims to 3, making it 4 total when you include the shooter. And that's what I wanted to get to next, just so you guys are aware. After the stream ended last night here on the Fox Local app, and then we had our 5 o'clock. After that, we then got confirmation from the Austin Police Department on the identity of the deceased suspect. So here he is, Njaga Jani, and he is 53 years old. He is a naturalized U.S. citizen, originally from Senegal. This is him here, which appears to be a driver's license type photo. And then this is the image that we got yesterday, which certainly sent shockwaves, throughout the Twitter sphere, social media, what have you. Property of Allah hoodie here. And I also want to point out that Marco, right after we started getting this information, our other reporter, Marco Bidnell, was actually able to go to a home tied to the suspect as FBI and other law enforcement was going in there, appearing to grab evidence. There was like robo-dogs, bomb-sniffing robo-dogs, canine units, drones, SWAT coming in and grabbing what appears to be evidence. And it also looked like, according to Marco, that there were family members there as well. And then we brought him on in studio after he was out there in Pflugerville. And he said they also saw the woman who appears to be his wife, who says she was his wife. Obviously, we weren't able to talk to her. It looked as though she was taken away by law enforcement for what we assume is questioning. But we're certainly going to get a lot more information on Johnny here. This is the suspect, property of Allah hoodie. As I mentioned, there was an image put out earlier by Bill Malusian, one of the Fox News anchors, of Johnny on the ground after that shooting. And it looks as though they've cut open that hoodie there. And under that hoodie, what appears to be an Iranian type shirt. So I'm not going to show that because there's some blood in there and it is quite graphic, but you can go look at that for yourself as well if you'd like. I also want to go back to the video as well, just so we can kind of show you guys exactly what I'm talking about in terms of what happened after. And so this is right after those gunshots. Here it is right here. We can't see this because it's blurred out. Okay? As I mentioned to you guys yesterday, I had seen footage before we blurred it out. That hoodie, the same hoodie that you see in the image I just showed you. So moments after the shooting, police on the ground. Johnny not moving. Police responding very quickly. You can watch that video on my Instagram as well if you guys want to check that out. Once again, we'll show this image just so you guys get a better view exactly of that person. And here is that hoodie, property of Allah. Because of all this as well, we've heard from witnesses. We also were wondering about other people in the surrounding area, because you had what appeared to be people sort of as the bar night is winding down, people getting ready for their ride shares, trying to find a way home. And our other reporter, Jenna King, thought, okay, what about those petty cab people that you see in downtown Austin? Did any of them witness this? I'm sure they did. What happened? So she actually was able to talk to 2 people that do this for a living that were there during the shooting as this all unfolded. Extremely scary. And so we'll hear from her coming up. We'll bring her here, right here in the studio to kind of give you guys an idea of what she's learned. I will also have an update. I'll show you more images if I can from Marco's page about what looks like a separate location for this shooter. We don't know if this is his staging area. We don't know if this is his permanent residence, or he has 2 residences, and maybe his family didn't know about this other one. But Marco got some really captivating video of SWAT coming down on this apartment, which is a separate location from the home we showed you yesterday. So we'll have all of that. We'll also have some updates on the Iran war, of course. We'll hear from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And then also, if we have time, I want to show you some clips from the Clinton depositions that we saw from both Hillary and former President Bill Clinton regarding the Epstein files. You're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Hey guys, welcome back into Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. We're coming at you live from the Fox 7 Austin newsroom. We have been talking a lot about this horrific shooting that happened in downtown Austin on West 6th Street at Buford's Beer Garden, injuring 14 people, killing 2. We understand now that that number may rise to 3 in terms of the identities of the suspects. Some new information that we're getting today. You can go on our website, fox7austin.com, for all of that information. But I did want to take a look at something going on right now in Washington, D.C. as the war on Iran continues. We saw that starting on Saturday. We thought we had a lot to deal with on Saturday, and then come Sunday morning, so many of us here waking up to the horrific news in downtown Austin. But as this is going on, and as the community is trying to bounce back from all that's going on here in Central Texas, we have so much going on globally, specifically here with so many protests coming out now that strikes have been put out on Iran, the Ayatollah being taken out, Khamenei, and of course, in the wake of all this, people reminding us about the war on Iraq. So that's what's going on right now in Washington, D.C. So I want to take a live look right now from one of our
raining down death and destruction.
Let me try and turn this down for you.
But we know, as students of history, that the U.S. and Israel have no interest in liberating the Iranian people.
So you can't see this sign totally, but it says "Remember Iraq." So obviously pointing out what happened 20-some years ago.
Cuba, Iraq,
and saying, hey, could we be in a situation similar to this? President Trump, of course, has come out and said he doesn't expect it to be that type of situation. He said this could take 4+ weeks. We do know that 6 U.S. military members have died since Operation Epic Fury started on Saturday. You can see here people protesting what's going on right now in the Middle East.
$300 million in 14 weapons manufacturers. To get organized, to endorse and sign the petition. The campaign at its core is a people's arms embargo, because we refuse to let our hard work earn tax dollars.
So we've got our crew out there in D.C. I'm not quite sure if they're backing up to get a better shot, but this is the situation unfolding. They are, of course, an hour ahead of us over there on the East Coast, so it's about, 8 o'clock over there. I'm not quite sure location-wise where they are set up, but it looked as though we had quite a crowd there holding up flags saying, "Remember Iraq," and of course what's going on with Operation Epic Fury. We don't know how long this will last. We can tell you we have gotten updates from specifically Trey Yingst, who's been phenomenal on all of this. He's done the war in Ukraine. He has done so much there in Tel Aviv, out of Israel, and giving us coverage. And we saw him over the weekend with, the helmet on, telling his camera people, "Hey, we got to get out of here. We got to take cover." And so, trying to give us the best look that we can. He also put out earlier today that all 11 Iranian warships had been taken out in the Gulf of Oman, and so it looks as though things are certainly escalating over there in the Middle East. As to how long this may take, we do not know. This is a situation certainly different from what we saw with taking out the nuclear facilities in Operation Midnight Hammer, this being Operation Epic Fury. The names are certainly getting interesting. I'm not quite sure where our camera guy is heading here. Maybe to get a better vantage point. But we'll check back in on that while this is going on, and this kind of segues into what I wanted to bring up next. Secretary of State Marco Rubio answering questions earlier today about Operation Epic Fury. So we'll listen into what the Secretary of State has to say on this as he approaches the podium here. This is at Capitol Hill earlier today.
The United States is conducting an operation to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and the threat posed by their Navy, particularly to naval assets. That is what it is focused on doing right now, and it's doing quite successfully. I'll leave it to the Pentagon and the Department of War to discuss the tactics behind that and the progress that's being made. That is the clear objective of this mission. The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true because, in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act. Going back to the purpose. The purpose of this is to destroy that missile capability. Why does Iran want that ballistic missile capability? What they are trying to do and have been trying to do for a very long time is build a conventional weapons capability as a shield where they can hide behind. Meaning, there would come a point where they have so many conventional missiles, so many drones, and it can inflict so much damage that no one can do anything about their nuclear program. The Ayatollah was a radical cleric. That entire regime is led by radical clerics who don't make geopolitical decisions. They make decisions on the basis of theology, their view of theology, which is an apocalyptic one. That has to be taken very seriously as well. So that was the purpose for what this operation is all about. That's what it's focused on. As the president said earlier today, it is on or ahead of schedule.
Can you hear me now? Okay. That's Secretary of State Marco Rubio right there talking about Operation Epic Fury. And I did want to point out, as he was coming up there, basically telling members of the media, hey, let me spell it out for you, okay? Because it doesn't sound like what he's trying to say, his narrative in this is getting across in the media. At least that's how he is framing it, okay? But something very interesting to point out here, this is in the second part of what he says there. The Ayatollah is a radical. That entire regime is led by radical clerics who don't make geopolitical decisions. They make decisions on the basis of theology, their view of theology, which is an apocalyptic one that has to be taken very seriously as well. So that was the purpose for what this operation is all about. That's what it's focused on. As the president said earlier today, it is on or ahead of schedule. Many of you have asked, how long is this going to take? Is this something that gets dealt with over a weekend? I would say no. I can also tell you I have a source, if you will, who has talked about this, who is in the military, who says more so than ever, he feels as though he could be involved with this, and also believes that this is something that could take quite some time, of course. So hopefully that's not the situation we're dealing with here, but it would appear so. Something else Marco Rubio goes on to say here, which I find very interesting. He says, again, I'm not going to give away the details of our tactical efforts, but the hardest hits are yet to come from the U.S. military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now. Someone was screaming, how long will it take? I don't know how long it will take. We have objectives. We will do this as long as it takes to achieve those objectives, and we will achieve those objectives. The world will be a safer place when we're done with this operation. So, of course, amid all of this, Iran having their own set of counterstrikes in all of this, it wasn't like they could just take out the Ayatollah and then everything is gone. We saw President Trump coming out and telling the people, hey, take to your streets, take back what is yours. We are trying to take out this Islamic regime. He also reportedly told other sources that, hey, the people that we thought maybe could be second or third in line to take over for the Ayatollah and be the supreme leader, well, we killed them too in this operation. We do know 49 senior members of this regime were taken out. So quite a hit there. Okay, but as this comes, there's counterattacks now, and we felt there could be something coming from Hezbollah. So those militants are targeting Israel now, sort of backing Iran with rocket attacks of their own, and the IDF retaliating in their own way as well. So they have put in strikes in Beirut. I will now show you the aftermath of that. So this, if we can pull this up, where did it go? I can find it. So with these counterattacks, if I can bring, nope, I don't have it. I'll pull it up. Give me a second. Don't you love computers, guys? You know, I'll have that when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll show you the aftermath in Lebanon there, and then hopefully we'll have our reporter, Jenny King, to talk about what some witnesses saw during this deadly mass shooting in downtown Austin on West 6th Street. You're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. We'll be right back. All right.
Is that okay?
All right, here we go. Welcome back into Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. We're bringing in our reporter Jenna King as we continue our coverage of this deadly mass shooting on West 6th Street at Buford's Beer Garden. We have gotten so much video, Jenna, images coming in. We've showed the suspect. Marco's been covering that side of it. And then you sort of had this story idea earlier. Hey, why don't we try and talk to some other witnesses besides the people that were just inside the bar? We've seen those horrific videos that Meredith showed us. So you came up with what idea?
Well, yeah, just kind of, like you said, we've touched kind of on these other angles, but I saw a video on Instagram of some pedicab drivers. If you don't know what that is, maybe you're newer to the area, you know, they come up, they pick you up on their little bike.
Right.
It's a different alternative to getting an Uber, so to speak, at the end of the night.
And this is their rush hour when those bars are closing.
This is their Super Bowl. So I saw a video that a pedicab driver had posted of essentially they're about to pick up, you know, that they're waiting as this happened around when the bars are closing, right? And I guess they all kind of pull up in front there to pick them up in front of Buford's. As you can imagine, you just kind of get out of the bar and, the wait for an Uber's 30 minutes. Why don't I just jump in one of these, right? A different alternative. And one gentleman I spoke with, Alex Freeman, he just had pulled right up in front of the bar as this is all happening. As you can imagine, he's quite literally caught in the gunfire. He said he was so close to it that he felt like a rock hit his face, maybe some shrapnel from the bullet, some things going flying. And then he gets on the ground. He's hearing all these shots. And then he says after a while, it kind of goes, like it stops for a minute. And he thinks it's over. And he's trying to get people out. Not over. Still continues to, still more shots.
Wow.
And so he's hiding behind his pedicab, which is, you know, it's not a
it's not going to stop the bullets.
Not going to really protect you, but like, what do you have in that moment? And it's like, you know, this thing that he uses every single day to, you know, for his livelihood is now becoming a shield from these bullets. And
did they see people get shot?
He did it. He said it was so hard to tell, like, where.
Like, what was happening?
It was dark. You can imagine, like, he didn't know which direction things were coming in. And, yeah, he essentially was saying he believes, you know, it paused maybe when he got out of the car and he's walking, right, or continuing, you know, down the, you know, he kind of, his path, the police say he took. But, yeah, just a really wrong place, wrong time, he said.
Has this at all changed, you know, their mindset as to whether or not they're going to continue to do this? Is this something they want to do? Do they feel safe?
Yeah, it's a great question. I asked them, you know, I said, do you think that people are going to stop, you know, going out for the time being? Is this going to kind of impact your business? And he said, we think that, well, they said, first of all, it's not about our business, right? It's about all these lives lost and just this tragedy. And but they said, we think for now, it's going to be kind of this lull. And then South by Southwest, they think it's going to pick back up again, which raises a lot of concerns. You know, what the...
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, and then two others I spoke with, other drivers, they were across the street, and I guess they were considering coming up and pulling nearby their friend, you know, that was parked right in front, and they're glad they didn't, you know, they stayed back. And they essentially were helping some people out of the situation that came running to them, get me out of here, and they drove these people out of the situation, because you can imagine that whole street was blocked down, right, from the footage we saw, these people just running everywhere, just a chaotic scene. And so, I mean, kind of at the end there, they really stepped up and saved people. The gentleman who got hit with the shrapnel, Alex, excuse me, he said he had to leave the pedicab there. It was like part of the crime scene.
Oh wow!
So they had to keep it there.
Did they see the shooter?
He didn't see they didn't see the shooter.
But they heard, obviously.
I asked, they just heard, and it just sounded like a lot of confusion. We don't know which way the shots are coming from. And so, yeah, just a chaotic scene. And they, you know, in that moment, it makes sense. It's dark, right? You hear things, but you can't necessarily, everyone's trying to piece together what exactly is happening.
Yeah, I don't know if you asked them this, but I mean, we were just showing it a little bit earlier. So many people responding, obviously, to the strikes on Iran over the weekend. Did they, I don't know, and if anybody thought something like this could happen, but was there any inkling that they had that this is something they have to be on the lookout for, like people are going to retaliate perhaps? We don't know exactly if the shooting is directly tied to what happened over the weekend, but with the evidence that we have, with the hoodie and the shirt underneath, it would appear that that is the cause.
They did believe, that it was more terroristic, like like we talked about,
Right.
having to do with everything going on. They told me that they have, doing this job, you're around these bars, they're around the bars more than anyone, right, picking these people up. They said they've seen other shootings, but nothing.
I was just going to ask you that. Is this the worst thing they have seen and or witnessed while doing this job?
Yes. And they've never seen anything like this. They've seen like maybe a shoot on Dirty Six, but it's never they said gang violence, and it's
Right.
never to this extent.
A potential terror attack.
One of the other drivers I talked with said he has a kid. He said, I can't be. He said, now I'm not going to stay out after 2 a.m. anymore because I have a son and I got to take care of him, and I'm not gonna put myself at risk. He said nothing good happens in those hours.
Were any of them interviewed by police or other forms of law enforcement?
That's a good question. We didn't talk about that. It sounded like they kind of dispersed. And
Right, they were just trying to get the hell out of there.
Everyone was just going, but I do know that he had to come back, get his pedicab, so I wonder if they had some questions for him. But Lisa Davis said in the press conference today there are 150 witnesses.
Oh my goodness. And dealing and talking with them, did it appear as though they were shaken up by this?
Absolutely, shaken up. But they told me they are going to continue driving, and this isn't going to stop them. I think just for the one gentleman, he said he's going to have an earlier, curfew.
Right, to kind of call it off.
But
Well, I think a lot of people have felt that way. I mean, we were talking about this, just saying, hey, is it safe to go out? Is it something that people are going to do? Are people going to still want to go out this next weekend? And it's certainly an area of concern, something you have to be worried about. I think there are other people out there that are saying, well, I'm still going to live my life. You know what I mean? Like, I can't let just maybe one thing affect me. But, as we talked to a former police chief yesterday, doesn't mean you still shouldn't be vigilant, obviously, with situations like this, because when you have these strikes being taken on another side of the world, other people are reacting to it, and unfortunately, innocent people getting caught in the crossfire, literally.
Yeah, and it's just, the lady, which is an interesting, I thought a lot of these, probably male-dominated field, the lady said this could have happened anywhere, and so, which is true, but, like she said,
all say that,
she's not going to stop doing her job because of this, but I'm sure there's, an extra. She said, I'm going to remain vigilant. She said, we all should be vigilant every single day of our lives. So maybe that's just the reminder, which is...
So you'll have this full story coming up when?
9 and 10.
9 and 10.
We've got you covered with those really interesting interviews of the, firsthand with the crossfire. So make sure to tune in.
Yeah, the images that we've seen is certainly horrific. If you're just joining us once again, our continued coverage here of the deadly mass shooting on West 6th Street. And we do know 2 people have died, victims, the third being the shooter. We expect that number to move to 4, with another person being taken off life support, according to Austin Police. You're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. We'll be right back. I'm just going to come back on and try and siphon through this thing. Welcome back to Austin live from the Fox 7 Austin newsroom. You're watching this right here on the Fox local app. You can also join us on YouTube as well. Just go to our page, Fox 7 Austin, hit the live tab. While we were in commercial break, I know that was a little longer break than usual, we were trying to confirm some information regarding the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. In the middle of all this, certainly the Middle East being the target of many of these, there's rockets flying, there's ballistic missiles flying, okay? And so we did get word that a U.S. embassy there was hit in a drone attack from Iranian forces. This is from the New York Post here. I'm working on trying to get video of this, but according to the New York Post, the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia's capital city of Riyadh issued a shelter-in-place order tonight after a drone attack. The embassy was, quote, subjected to an attack by 2 drones, according to initial estimates, resulting in a limited fire and minor material damage to the building. A, quote, security alert posted by the Riyadh Embassy on X read, the U.S. mission to Saudi Arabia has issued a shelter-in-place notification, and they are limiting non-essential travel to any military installations in the region. We recommend American citizens in the kingdom to shelter in place immediately. The embassy was reportedly empty at the time of the drone strike, thankfully, which is believed to have come from Iran. So I don't have video of that. I don't know if we'll get video of the actual drone strike, but we do. I'm seeing this here, but I just got to confirm this, of course. You're seeing a fire there, but thankfully, according to the New York Post here, nobody was inside that, so it doesn't look like there's any casualties involved with this. I did want to go back to the situation in Beirut. I have a friend whose entire family is from Lebanon. He grew up in Bahrain, and so I asked him, I said, hey, how is your family doing in Lebanon? Have they heard anything? And he said, thankfully, they are away from the concerned areas. So there are areas out there that have been hit by Israeli forces because of Hezbollah, the militant group there in Lebanon, retaliating for Iran. And so I did want to pull up some of those images there, if I can just get this up. If we can pull this. This thing would just work. Okay, and I showed you guys earlier, obviously, Marco Rubio talking about this, and then following that, we have the situation in Beirut. Here we go. So here is that drone strike now. Well, we don't know if it's a drone strike, but it's an Israeli strike. So here are some buildings here. Here's the rubble, as you can see here. So Israel's military says it carried out a, quote, targeted attack against senior members of the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah in Beirut and southern Lebanon earlier today. The airstrikes in the Lebanese capital heavily damaged a building, as you can see here. Reports indicated the airstrike occurred near the old compound of the Iranian embassy. Video showed the charred remains of what appears to be a damaged structure. Windows throughout the building were shattered and broken glass blanketed the ground. Hezbollah conducted missile and drone strikes on northern Israel in retaliation for waves of Israeli airstrikes on Lebanon. So this is not just between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. We have people coming to the defense of Iran, of course. Really, the only people we've seen come to the defense, from a military standpoint, being Hezbollah here, the militant group out there in Lebanon. As my friend said earlier, with all of his family out there, he has visited there pretty much every year his entire life, telling me Hezbollah is a cancer to the region. Many people there in Lebanon not wanting to have to deal with that militant group out there backing the Islamic regime of Iran. I'm going to try and work on getting more video with this embassy situation in Riyadh. It appears no one was injured, no casualties involved with this, but we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I will try and get either a picture or some type of video that you're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox local app. Welcome back to Austin live from the Fox 7 Austin newsroom right here on the Fox local app. You can, of course, follow us on all our social media at Fox 7 Austin and our website, fox7austin.com. I'm trying to do my best here to get some video. As I mentioned earlier, we have some breaking news out of Riyadh. It's our understanding that a U.S. embassy there has been hit by 2 Iranian drones. And I do want to pull up a source here who is she's fantastic with these, okay? She's the chief national security correspondent for Fox News, Jennifer Griffin here. And so this is a tweet she sent out earlier about 51 minutes ago saying, a third drone, I just mentioned there was 2 that hit this, a third drone is en route to U.S. Embassy in Riyadh as we speak, according to official source. She can tell us here, the U.S. Embassy was empty at the time of the Iranian drone strike, no injuries, officials tell Fox. She then goes on to say, it seems the missile defense system Patriot Arrow, for the most part, are working to intercept the ballistic and cruise missiles, but the drones are managing to get through the layered defenses there. The people who have the most experience with anti-drone tactics, having faced these drones that were provided by Tehran to Russia, are the Ukrainians. Someone might want to call them. Of course, we know that Tehran, the Iranian forces, were providing these drones to Russia and putting them on Ukraine. So I would assume if you do want to ask somebody about anti-drone situations, it would be Ukrainians. Okay, so that's from Jennifer Griffin there. One of our producers here just sent me this alert off Facebook from the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh. This is their official account here. So they put out a security alert, as you can see here, saying shelter-in-place U.S. mission to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The U.S. mission has issued a shelter-in-place notification and are limiting non-essential travel to any military installations in the region. We recommend American citizens in the kingdom to shelter in place immediately and avoid the embassy until further notice due to an attack on the facility. If you're just joining us, it's our understanding that facility was empty at the time. No injuries, no casualties. The statement goes on to say the U.S. mission to Saudi Arabia continues to monitor the regional situation. We encourage all travelers to review our most recent security alerts, review any travel plans in case of disruptions, and make appropriate decisions to keep themselves and their families safe. We advise all U.S. citizens to maintain a personal safety plan. Crises can happen unexpectedly while traveling or living abroad, and a good plan helps you to think through potential scenarios. Okay, so that security alert coming. Of course, many people saying, please, God, help them. We'll continue to monitor anything Jennifer Griffin may say. I'll give her a follow there. Surprised I wasn't already following her. But our understanding, a third drone on its way to the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh. It appears no one inside that facility, no casualties, no injuries. But we do know that 2 drones reportedly hit it. And then she goes on to say here, Jennifer Griffin, hey, if anybody knows anything about this, it would be the Ukrainians. Maybe someone should call them. I don't know if that's the answer to those questions there, but certainly some food for thought there. We'll continue to monitor this. I'll continue to monitor if we can get any video, of course. As I was just mentioning, we've seen back and forth over the last 2 days after Operation Epic Fury was kickstarted by U.S. and Israeli forces, taking out the Ayatollah, Ali Khamenei, of course, out there in Tehran, and 49 other senior members of this Islamic regime taken out. That night, we saw local Iranians gathering right outside the Capitol building here in Austin, Texas, as they have for what seems like months now, ever since things started to escalate. And we saw many citizens out there that were protesting against this Islamic regime being killed by the regime. Early reports were telling us it could be 5,000 people. We, of course, talked to protesters out there that say, hey, that number is way higher than what they're actually telling you. Marco Bittenl, our reporter, was out there talking to many of these people saying, hey, we have family over there in Iran. We want this Islamic regime to fall, what's been there at the helm for nearly 50 years. Some of them saying they weren't able to actually get in contact with their loved ones because of there being this blackout situation. So, of course, a very scary situation, and so many people here. No matter where you are, there's going to be people affected by this, of course, but we saw hundreds of people gathering outside the Capitol and celebrating. I will show you it, actually. Might as well show you it since we're talking about it. Let's go here. So this was, about, I would say, 3-4 hours after we came into work, and people gathering outside the Capitol here. So local Iranians in Austin praising Trump. We heard them praising Trump. We heard them praising Israel for carrying this out. This post has gotten a lot of attention here, let's just say that, in dealing with the comments and dealing with what people had to say. I mean, we're talking, look at this, 441,000 people. We've got over 1,000 comments. I mean, it's gotten pretty nasty in there, but a lot of people, of course, happy here. They've been protesting for weeks, asking for help, asking for someone to take action. That has happened. The Ayatollah has been taken down, but as we are seeing now, there's now targeted attacks from Iran forces trying to retaliate in all of this. Something interesting to point out as well, Trey Yingst telling us earlier today on social media, a source telling him that all 11 of those Iranian warships were taken out in the Gulf of Oman. And so certainly a huge win there for the U.S. military. We know just how powerful they are from a naval and air perspective, and now dealing with cruise missiles and ballistic missiles. But of course, some things breaking through, specifically those drones. We saw a really scary drone video that first day of the attack with it going right into a building above someone's head. And so this is the type of warfare we're dealing with here. There are drones involved in a lot of this and being, sent into buildings and going off like a bomb. And so once again, I'll try my best to try and get some video here of the situation out there in Riyadh. If you're just joining us, you're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Of course, much of our coverage today dealing with the deadly mass shooting that took place on West 6th Street at Buford's Beer Garden. We learned the identities of the two people that were killed. College students, 21 years old, 19 years old, just kids in dealing with all of this. So we understand that so many people want the right information, so many people want to put the video out, so many people wanted to get updates from us. At the end of the day, I think it's important to remind all of us here that we're trying to get the right information. We understand time is of the essence. We want to get things out there as quickly as we can, but we did want to confirm the names of those people. We did want to make sure that we got the ages of them right, as well as I mentioned at the start of the show. As you're watching the press conference there from Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis, she says the age is wrong. Whether or not that's because, I don't know, fake IDs may have been used, something of that nature, being out in that sort of entertainment bar district, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But we do know the ages now. Savitha Shawn, 21 years old, and Ryder Harrington, 19 years old. Just kids, once again. Unfortunately, that death toll may rise to 3 because we have learned another victim that was in critical condition, that is in critical condition, was expected to be taken off life support. Our Crime Watch reporter, Meredith Aldis, has been following that since we first learned about it, with a connection through a friend of that person. So we'll, of course, keep you updated with all of that as best we can. Follow us on all of our social media, Fox 7 Austin, our website, fox7austin.com. And coming up at 9 and 10 o'clock, we'll have continued coverage on all of this, specifically with the suspected gunman. Have a great night. We will see you guys tomorrow for the primary election.